Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWES. Continuing on with college football week 1, Penn State, West Virginia, a repeat of last year, the controversial finish. Talk about it in a second. Penn State WVU. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWES. The SWES. SWES. Hey, get the SWES.
All right, Penn State, West Virginia. Like I said, this one's in Morgantown. West Virginia at home. Looks like they're catching 8 or 8.5 points at home here, depending on your sports book. Total sitting at 51.5 across the board. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we got a pretty heavy lean on Penn State here, 36.6 to 16.5. But again, as I keep mentioning, these models, they haven't been updated for the new rosters. So this is using last year's data. Probably should disregard it until week 3 or 4. So let's go ahead and get into this one, and we'll start by talking about last year's game. If you were watching the show last year, you know I personally got screwed on this one. All right, so if you weren't watching the game, Penn State was up 31-15 with no time left. They had the ball up 16. All they had to do was kneel on it. Instead, James Franklin, with 6 seconds left, runs the ball in for a meaningless touchdown. Like something you would do in NCAA, the video game. Just completely meaningless touchdown instead of kneeling on it up 16 points. Now, what scoring that touchdown did, Penn State covered. They were laying 21. They ended up winning by 23. So that touchdown, I had West Virginia plus 20.5 is I think what I was holding. So that touchdown cost me the cover. And also, I had the under as well. And that touchdown put it over the total as well. So James Franklin personally robbed me twice with one single meaningless touchdown. So yeah, I was pretty vocal about it. I was pretty pissed off. But that was last year's game. We're here to talk about this year's game. Same coaching staff back at West Virginia. Same head coach, same coordinators. No changes there. Probably going to see the same style offense as well because pretty much the whole offense is back. We'll talk about it in a second. 6th in run frequency. This was a run-first offense all the way, and it wasn't even close. I mean, it pretty much went Army, Navy, Air Force, Liberty, and then West Virginia in terms of run frequency. This team had a very strong rushing attack last year. And like I said, pretty much everyone's back on the West Virginia offense. They bring back their top 3 rushers. Those 3 combined for over 2,400 yards on the ground. 3 returning starters on the offensive line, and they also bring in a starter from Jacksonville State's offensive line, making this a really experienced unit. In fact, I think Phil Steele has them ranked in the top 15 as far as offensive lines. So they're expecting a very good offensive line here. Quarterback Garrett Green is also back. Now, as a passer, a little bit unproven, but he can run the ball. Over 700 yards rushing last year. So West Virginia, very good rushing attack last year, as you can see from these metrics here. 13th in yards per carry, 30th in rushing success rate, 4th in effective rush, and they're bringing back pretty much everyone. So this rushing attack is probably going to be even better than that this year. Now, whether or not Garrett Green develops as a passer, that's a different question. I mean, it depends. The personal opinion. I obviously a year experience under his belt, you'd think he'd improve a little bit, but as a whole, the highlight of this West Virginia offense is the run game, no question. But I have some bad news for West Virginia fans. They're opening the season against arguably the best run defense in the country. I mean, they were the best run defense in the country last year, literally 1st in the country in yards per carry allowed, 3rd in run defense success rate, ranked 1st in effective rush. So yeah, this might have been the best run defense in the country last year. Look at these defensive line metrics. I mean, best defensive line in the country last year. Pretty much top 10 across the board at every major metric here. Also, we questioned whether or not Garrett Green is going to develop as a passer. Well, Penn State runs a lot of man coverage. They're 23rd in the country in man coverage frequency. They're very good at it too. The reason I bring that up, look how much worse West Virginia's passing numbers were last year against man coverage. So in addition to playing the best run defense in the FBS, arguably, they're also playing against a defense that runs a ton of man coverage, which they struggled to throw against last year. Also, I'll bring up West Virginia's home-away splits last year. They were actually better offensively on the road. Now, this is a super small sample size, and that's not really indicative of this West Virginia team. It's kind of an outlier. Usually, this West Virginia team, especially defensively, is much better at home in Morgantown. It's just last year didn't really fit that mold. But we do have to mention that Penn State was also the best road defense in the FBS. I mean, top 4 in every single major metric on the road last year. I mean, they were also pretty much the best home defense as well. This Penn State defense, can't really question it. Elite across the board, and they bring back a ton of production as well. I mean, this is probably going to be a top 3 run defense again. So although I think this West Virginia rushing attack is going to be top 10, like as good as any other rushing attack in the country, they really got an unlucky draw here playing Penn State, arguably the best run defense in the country in the opener. Now, on the other side, we got the Penn State offense, and if you watched Penn State football last year, you know that this unit was definitely the disappointment. They did run the ball more than they threw the ball, 53rd in run frequency, and they were okay at it. 36th in yards per carry, 15th in rushing success rate, ranked 9th in effective rush. Pretty solid-looking numbers. The thing is, the expectations for the Penn State rushing attack were so high. They brought back both of their backs from 2022, Allen and Singleton, and everyone thought this was going to be the most explosive running back duo in the country. And it's not that they were bad. I just feel the expectations were a lot higher than what we got. And Drew Aller didn't offer a ton as far as an explosive passing attack. He wasn't bad either, but just the Penn State offense as a whole was a little bit disappointing. But both of these guys are back again. So you would think both of these backs returning again that they can only take a step forward, and I agree with that. Now, Penn State offensive line did a great job. Here are their blocking metrics, pretty solid looking across the board. Problem is, they lost 3 starters from this offensive line. I'm pretty sure all 3 got drafted into the NFL as well. To lose 3 NFL pieces from the offensive line. But the good news is West Virginia's defensive front lost some pieces as well. And this run defense wasn't really great last year. 87th in yards per carry allowed, 88th in run defense success rate. I think they lost 4 starters out of their defensive front 7. Now, they're projected to be good. They did return some pieces, but there's some new faces in that defense. And week 1 against Penn State and that rushing attack, all that the talent in the RB room there, I don't know if I want to see new faces out there for West Virginia. Not to mention, Drew Allen's really in a position to take a big step forward this year as a quarterback. Say what you want about him. He really wasn't bad last year. He didn't turn the ball over, didn't really push the ball downfield. I'll give you that. But with an elite defense and 2 NFL caliber running backs, I mean, how much do you want him to really do? You want him to protect the football and manage the offense, and you can make an argument that's what he did. So I think Drew Aller should be better. I know some people are taking Drew Aller as a sleeper Heisman winner, so there are people out there that definitely think Drew Aller takes a step forward, and I don't disagree with that. And also in this particular matchup, West Virginia runs a ton of zone coverage. They're 12th in the country in zone frequency. The reason I bring that up, Drew Aller actually much better passing numbers against zone coverage. So maybe this is a favorable matchup for him, especially if the run game's going to be able to get going against a West Virginia defensive front 7 that lost a few pieces. Might be some opportunities for Drew Aller to make some plays through the air, which is why, although it's really tempting to take the 8 points at home here with West Virginia, I can't do it. I think Penn State's going to cover this number. So as far as making a game pick, it would be Penn State minus the points. But I think my favorite bet is the under at 51.5. That number feels way too high. Especially these teams don't run a particularly fast pace. Both teams are going to be trying to run the ball, which means the clock is going to be running nonstop. I like the under here at 51.5. Also, it's in the back of my head that I had the under last year, and it should have cashed. I got beat on some bullshit by James Franklin at the end. So if that happens again, I'm probably going to break everything in my house. But yeah, I'm gonna bet the under in this one. And I probably won't lay the points with Penn State, but if I was to bet a side, it would be Penn State minus 8. If you want to see all the bets I currently have open for week 1, head over to KyleKirms.com. There's a window called Open Bets. Also, when you sign up to Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. So if you're interested in any of that, head over to the website and sign up. Live shows, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, weekdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on the weekends. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a great college football week 1. Made a few dollars in week 0. Hopefully the positivity continues. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.